The Bible, pleads with us not to have any dissensions over that, as long as when you esteem the day, you esteem it unto the Lord, and when you don't esteem it, you also reverence the Lord with it. So that's really not where the core is. Left to me, I would rather say we need to be focusing on the statement you made earlier on, that year after year, decade after decade, celebrations of Easter, where is the improvement? Let me bring to focus one of the best Easter celebrations in the history of Nigeria. I think the 21st of April, was that in 1867, was one of the best celebrations of Easter that the Nigerian church ever experienced. That was the day when King George of Bonny and the chiefs, based on the ministrations of Ajayi Crowther, who understood the core of Jesus Christ's message and his sacrifice, he was able to persuade them to give up what they call Bonny Juju, which, that time they used to worship practically the iguana lizard. And these are terrible things. These are the dark days of our history. Now, it was men like Ajayi Crowther using the power of the gospel, the core of the message, that helped to prepare the way for the nation that we have today. So what Ajayi Crowther knew, again I say, are the important things that we need to know about Easter, because if in his own days they were able to use this Easter to wipe away corruption, wipe away darkness, and create a platform for a better life for people and a better future for the African, we need also to go back again and get the core message of Easter right, as he did. People like Ajayi Crowther, they got it right, definitely. And I think that's where we are at in Nigeria right now.
And Pastor Chris Oleri, let's bring this down to Nigeria today, here and now. You will agree that there's plenty of hopelessness. Mm-hmm. There's plenty of suffering. There's plenty of want. People are hungry. How would you give the Nigerian this message of Easter such that it has a meaning for him and it gives him hope?
Yeah, actually what I believe the core of the message of Easter to us as Nigerians are two words: hope and sacrifice. Hope in the sense that when Christ was crucified, at this period, at the time when it really happened, this Saturday, he was crucified on Friday. It was a state of despondency, even for the disciples. We don't know what will happen to this leader who has gone. We don't know what will happen afterwards. But by the following day, the third day, that Sunday, he resurrected, and their hope became alive again. I would say, two things are bad. Things are not going the way we wanted or we desire. There is hunger. There are so many ills in the society. Easter tells us our hope must still be alive, even in the midst of the problems we are seeing. That though it looks so bad now, we can believe God that things will still turn around for the better. Now, the second aspect, as far as I will talk about, is that each of us, both the leaders and the citizenry, we must consider the kind of sacrifice Jesus also paid for redemption. And we all must emulate. Our leaders must understand that if this hope indeed will materialize, there is need for sacrifice on their own parts, and we as well on our own parts.
You're going to say something about it?
Okay, no, well, I was pretty much agreeing with a number of things you said. And for me, I think that, that sacrifice on the cross not only, paved a way for man to be reconciled to God, but I believe it also paved a way for man to become like God on earth. And I think that, for people that you said that they're despondent, they have challenges and all that, for me, Christianity is practical, all right? There are dimensions to it. For example, one of the key things, we talk about poverty ratios all over the world, and Nigeria rates pretty low. But in terms of poverty, it's actually through what happened on Easter, all right, that actually addresses that. Okay, so there are many dimensions to it. There's healing. There's so much that people can actually get. So again, I reemphasize the fact that, if we really do preach what was accomplished on Easter, a lot of change will actually happen.
But let me see, when you talk about preaching what was accomplished on Easter,
Yes.
how can that be achieved
Yes.
in the face of the name of Jesus being used as a swear word?
Oh,
I mean,
okay.
even by those who are supposed to be preaching
Yes.
the gospel,
Yes.
the name of Jesus used as a swear word,
Yes.
and then the younger generation hardly pay attention to the gospel or the messages of Easter.
Yes.
Right now it's about partying and all
sure.
of that. So how can this message
Yes.
be ingrained in the face of all of this?
In communication, you can't reach a person except to come on their own terms and in their own frame of reference. And again, preaching, if you preach Jesus, I mean, I had a story about a guy, they were talking to him about David, and they said, is it David Beckham? He's never been to church before. He didn't grow up in a church. All right, so before you're able to reach the youth, for example, you must understand the context when they come from. And most youth, by the time you talk to them, they've done a lot of things that they feel that, look, God is angry with them. And the truth about it is that God does love them. So you come from a standpoint of love, for example, which is something that, I mean, for God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son. So God doesn't condemn the world, God does love the world, all right? And so you come from that standpoint and now begin to relate what exactly. Somebody said if Jesus was going to come to a hungry man, he will come in form of bread.
Yeah.
All right. So you start also from the point of need that they have. What needs? I mean, young people today, I mean, the figures in terms of depression among youth, the use of drugs and all that is increasing constantly and all that. And Jesus, I would tell you, actually can meet that need for them. So you have to come up from that point.
Pastor Thompson, the relevance of the message. Now, it's talked about reaching the younger ones at their level. But what relevance is this message in the face of rapid technological development? I mean, you want to talk about Jesus, but the social media is there as a form of distraction.
Talking about all kinds of other
Talking
things.
about, I mean, it's out there, it's flying everywhere. Technology has made it so difficult, so to speak, for a lot of people to even open their Bibles when they come into church. Because while you think they are looking at the Bible on their devices, they're actually looking at
Something else.
Thank you very much. So, how can this message of Easter be pushed further? Not just to turn people into, for lack of a better word, zombies, but to turn people into people living this message. As you say, it is what is needed now. If Ajayi Crowther could use it then, I mean, it can still be used to turn the society around.
Well, I think that's very brilliant of you to look at the plight of the youth and look at the fact that the average person today actually looks to technology to resolve their problems and get them solutions rather than, as it were, to the church. But having said that, we are going to discover something that technology has brought a lot of innovation, but has not yet helped anybody to move closer to a better life, as it were.
That's arguable.
No, well, if you just listen to my the presentation I'd like to make to you. What you're going to discover is that no matter how much technology comes and goes, people still enter into this world as males and females. The sun still rises in the east, sets into the west. Men are never going to get pregnant. You see, there are certain things that speak of God, and the things that speak of God do not change. Now, the important thing that I believe has to be done is this. We need to recognize that there's a young generation in Nigeria today who will never be impressed by the hypocrisy and the facade of religion. This is a young generation that has practically lost hope in looking to decades of abuse. Now, the dividends of the cross is what makes this important now. Now, remember that what we're really celebrating here is a rescue program.
Yeah.
A rescue program. And the major package of rescue, the major reference point was this. Death was the